I'm Ashley.
And I'm Renee.
And thank you for joining us here at the Rheal Unwind.
Rheal Unwind.
So here in the Rheal
Wait,
Unwind.
what was that?
A
little sprinkle?
Yeah. We believe in building wealth one mindset at a time. And we have conversations that empower our community, the people who look like us, that live in the inner city, in the urban communities, whether it be healing their money mindset
or purchasing a new home and starting generational wealth from that. One of the most important things in one's lifetime is either purchasing a home and passing that down to their children so that they don't have to worry about home ownership, taking equity out of that home, and doing whatever it is that they need to do to propel their family's life or their journey.
We give you conversation, and we have conversations that are going to empower you to go out and achieve those dreams that you have for yourself. And if you are new, thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us. And if you ever someone who has listened to our podcast or our show previously, we want to say thank you for returning. As always, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and share
Bing, bing.
To our podcast, because the more that we know that you enjoy this content, the more content that we can create that's beneficial for you in achieving those financial dreams that you have for yourself.
How would you say people would benefit from joining and listening in on our show?
One of the ways that you can benefit from joining us and listening in on our show is just the fact that we are real, and our name is real, but we are real. We come to you unapologetically us. You get what we're really thinking. This isn't something that's scripted. Yes, we come together to kind of say, this is what we're going to be discussing, but the conversation that you get with us, it is authentic. It's unapologetic, but it's also something that we feel as though you can take away that will give you that inspiration in your life.
Not only that, I feel like there's a lot of politics going on in the world right now. And really, we just want to kind of get to the nitty gritty and give you insight on how this information pretty much impacts you, your family, your livelihood, just your life in general.
Yes. And so we want to come to you and we want to give you a piece of us, because we know that when you know the people who you're listening to, when you understand, you like, and you feel like you can identify with those people who are giving you information, that you're more likely to follow it and you're more likely to, go through with it, because you feel like you have a friend, and you always have a friend in me. You've got a friend in me.
Friend in me.
She don't even know the song.
I don't. I'm remixing.
Right? She said I can put a little twist on everything. So tell me, Renee, did you do anything over this weekend? I know that we got some snow.
Oh.
But before the snow hit, did you do anything over the weekend?
So we actually did a couple of things. We had some events that we attended. One was a vision board party, vision to success or vision to launch. We also did some things for Martin Luther King's birthday.
We vended, like Renee said, at both events. And at the Martin Luther King celebration, this was just a phenomenal event, just in the honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. They were both so powerful and inspirational. The dreams and vision was for girls to adults coming together to really dream out and envision their future, which we're all about that here at the Rheal Unwind. Well, on the Rheal Unwind, we have a business called Rheal Urban, but we're about envisioning and seeing where you're going so that you can know how to plan your life accordingly, so that you know the steps that you need to take. But then also being around people for Martin Luther King celebration, just because we were honoring someone who has been so great, who has made so many changes and assisted with making changes for us to even be sitting here today. So we always want to show gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation for those who led the way before we could even think about it. They were leading the way and, paving a path for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Ashley said, so we did this event. We had a table set up there. And we got to meet a lot of good people, a lot of different people from different walks of life, different backgrounds. There were some singers there that were basically giving us some updates on what was going on within the community, but doing it in an R&B fashion. We also had some poets that we met. And by the way, all of this took place at MSK Community. MSK stands for My Sister's Keeper. So if you're familiar with MSK and everything that they're doing within the community in Wilmington, Delaware, please, please, please give them a huge shout out, or even go by and visit their community center. They're always doing things for the youth as well as for adults. Just finding different ways to give back. So this event took place at their community center. Like I said, there were poets, there was live music, there were singers, and then there were also a lot of vendors, like Ashley said, Black-owned small businesses, people who are just looking to get their brand out there and showcase what they have to offer.
Yeah, and that's kind of taking us into what our first discussion that we're going to talk about today is that we don't understand a lot of times there were a lot of other towns that, as Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to do, which was bring us together and unify, there were a lot of Black towns that were started around America, not just the one that they always, bring to light and highlight. Yeah, there's a lot more. So we want to start giving and paying homage to those other towns, those other cities where Black and brown people, we thrived and where we had communities and where we set up. And because we know a lot of things happen with our communities, a lot of our communities are no longer in existence, but we want to be able to highlight this because we feel like by us highlighting this, we're now bringing it to the attention of each other, but then we're also able to now start to build those societies within our current society.
Ashley wants to build a society within society.
Mm-hmm.
So first we're going to highlight the first township on our list. I'm a California native. I'm from Cali. I'm a Cali girl, Bay Area all day. So today we're actually going to talk about a township that's not in the Bay Area, but it is very close to a body of water. Unfortunately, they lack that body of water, which actually caused their demise. The access to that water. So the first township we're going to talk about is Allensworth, California.
Yes.
You want to give us some information about that township?
Of course I can. Allensworth, California was funded and started by Colonel Allen Allensworth. Now, he wasn't the only person that came in and funded it, but he was the loudest voice, basically. And the reason this was such an important time is because at this time, we had just got out of being enslaved. And so he wanted to now get away from the Jim Crow South and now start to, build and allow people of color, those previously enslaved people who were now freemen, to have the accessibility and to be able to live and thrive and flourish on this land that is ours.
That they could call their own.
Yeah. He was actually born on Vernay was born on his birthday because he was born in 1842. So I don't know if you was born in 1842, but if not, you was born on his birthday.
Allen Allensworth was born on April 7th, my special day, 1842.
He was one of the first Black men to join the Union Army. He actually retired with the highest rank that an African American could have.
Was it a general?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay, Lieutenant Colonel.
Yeah, so he retired as Lieutenant Colonel and actually on his birthday, on your birthday again, April 7th of 1906.
Sorry, is that just why I've always felt, and I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm gonna let you finish. But that's probably why I always feel like my birthday is a national holiday, thanks to Allensworth. Him, Billie Holiday, a couple other people, but that's probably why April 7th is such a special day.
I hear you. So after the colonel retired, him and his family traveled the United States. He would travel the United States giving speeches to Black and brown individuals about having self-respect, but also how to help and live and sustain within this society. He wanted to become more and more self-sufficient, which is something that me and Vernay, we are big on, is being self-sufficient, being able to, we're called preppers. People call us doomsday preppers, but we feel as though if our power goes out or our electric goes out, that's not a doomsday, but we're prepared. We have flashlights and candles, so we're prepared. So this is what he was preaching, and he was going around to teach the people is how to be self-sufficient and how to be prepared. About the town, Allensworth. Allensworth was actually the first and only, still to today, it's 2024, the first and only town that was funded and fully financed by African Americans town in California. Still to this day. And to this day, it's no longer a town. They have now made this into a state park. Yeah. So now you have to pay a fee to get into the park. So yeah, we'll talk about that too, how that gets spicy. So you know I'm a money girl. So something that I read when it came to Allensworth was that they made $5,000 a month. That's how much this town was able to bring in. So if we look at that amount now, that's almost $400,000 a month.
Wow, in today's money.
Today's money.
And that's because they kept all of the money circulating within their own community. So that's something that's very important. A lot of times we talk about how long the dollar stays in the Black community, and it's literally less than 6 hours. However, in this town, Allensworth, they were able to make their dollars circulate over time. They had about 300 residents in this township, and they were able to continuously thrive and prosper with stores, lawyers' offices, hospitals, clinics, and the list goes on.
Yeah. All 300 residents, because of how they farmed, they were all able to eat from the food that they produced. They all would go out and help each other. They had a bakery where they would supply the bakery with items, and their restaurants would be supplied with items from their farm, and they really built Allensworth up as a community. So from 1908 until around 1920, Allensworth was thriving. When I say thriving, I mean thriving. They had some things and obstacles that they had to, overcome during this time. So in 1913, there was a drought. So everybody knows in California, sometimes it don't rain.
It doesn't rain.
It doesn't rain in Southern California.
I don't know what Tony was talking about, but sometimes it just doesn't rain.
Yeah, it doesn't rain.
And we need that rain.
Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen that there's been such a drought in California. Like the residents of California are so upset and they're fighting because the state is throwing basically their water into the ocean, and their reservoirs and their dams start to dry up, and it's like they need this water. So this isn't something that's new. Fresh water. This isn't something that is new, but there was a drought that happened in 1913. So people started to, leave and because you can't farm if there's no water.
That's right.
So
it's hard for you to grow your produce.
Yeah. So in 1913, again, there was a drought, and then in 1914, the Colonel Allensworth, he was actually killed in Los Angeles in a motorcycle accident in 1914. So
hit and run.
Yeah, there was a hit and run, and he was killed. And so the town, even though he had passed away, because he had a plan in place. He had people who he trusted who knew what he was trying to do. 6 years after he passed away, Allensworth was still thriving.
That's right. And that's in part thanks to not only his wife, Josephine, but as Ashley said, the other people who were in the community who knew his plans, who saw his vision, made that vision their own, and continued to do what they could to keep the town afloat.
Yeah. And then World War II happened. So a lot of people, because of World War II happening, there was a lot of factories jobs that came about. So because of the war, the men went off the war, but then the women were left, and farming they weren't able to bring in farming because again, they had a drought. So they started to move to the major cities that had the factories that they could work in. So the town slowly but surely started to become more and more a ghost town. In 1925, there was things that started to happen to their water, and the people started to get a plague, and they started to die because their water had been tampered with.
And I just want to pause right there, because anyone who knows anything about this government, they're constantly playing with our water supply, because they're allowing other companies to dump and dispose of these toxins into not just the lakes and the reservoirs, the dams and the ocean, but literally on any piece of body or any body of water that they can find. They're releasing toxins. So it's no surprise that this is what took out the town, the water.
And the town from 1925 it was still there. The town was still going. And then in 1966, the government came in and said that the town was to be demolished because they found arsenic in the water. At that time in 1966, there were still 34 families who lived in Allensworth. All 34 of those families then had to move off of the land, and the land stayed basically vacant. So they didn't demolish it. They didn't they did demolish it, but they demolished the buildings, but they still kept the land.
They declared it a national park.
Yeah. So now this town is now a national park where you have to pay to get into it. But I'm pretty sure that they don't give any money to the 34 families who were now displaced because of the arsenic being found in the water. So we're pretty sure that there were things that led up to this, that them wanting this land, because it was nice, fertile land, and there were a lot of building, and there was a lot of growth and thriving that was happening here, and they just slowly but surely took over. And now this is a state park, and we are no longer living on this land in Allensworth. So yeah.
Now you may be thinking, why is this important? This is important because this idea, this vision started off with one single man who wanted to produce something for his family. He wanted to be self-sufficient. He wanted to have his own land. Most importantly, he also wanted to have his own home. Now, when we look at our own lives, that's pretty much one of the most important things that we want for ourselves and our family. We want land or a home, something that we can pass down to our children, something that grows in equity, is an asset, and something that will allow us to be able to pretty much pull equity out and leverage so that we can continue to build on to our visions, our goals, our dreams, our livelihood. Get more streams of income.
In order for you to get to all of this, in order for you to even have this vision and have this plan, you have to have a healthy relationship with your money. You have to know what's happening with your money, if you're budgeting, if the money is being spent one way or not another way. You have to know, because again, Allensworth thrived for years. 1906 to 1925, they thrived. So that means that they had their budgeting, they had their books down, they had record keeping. They had tough times, but in those tough times, they knew that they could overcome, and they could keep going, and they could keep moving forward. So here, this is important, because if you don't have these things aligned, you could lose the home because you're not keeping everything checked and balanced. So yeah.
I think also another really important thing that you mentioned was earlier in the conversation was community. It's important to build on your community, to do it with people you love and trust, and that you actually like being around. That's something that's important for me, and I think that's why we're in a partnership, right?
Yeah.
Because not only do we love and trust each other, but we feed off of each other's intentions, vision, and we serve as reminders as to why we continue to do what we do here.
Rheal always says, I'm your biggest cheerleader. So because we're very vocal with how we want to, progress in life, we're sitting here, we're building out, we're making plans, we're making, goals, we're setting goals for ourselves, because we know this is what we want out of life. And so how that ties in again is because we know that it's important to have a plan, but when you have this plan, to execute the plan. And I feel like Colonel Allensworth, he had a plan. He saw the things that were happening. What we have to do is seeing what it is that we want out of life so that we can achieve it. Mind is always going, and we have to sometimes rewire our mind for it to have a more positive outlook. So sometimes we have to have those lists, have those guides, have those mentors, that accountability partner that keeps on you, but it's also helping you with getting to your end goal.
Okay, so you're saying that I should always have someone around me who's not only uplifting me, but motivating me so that I can work on my goals. Why is that relatable to people today? I'm sure out there we have people that are like, I'm too busy for that because I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm trying to put food on the table, it's cold outside because it's winter right now. And right now, I just feel like I can't get ahead. Where would you tell them to start? Because you just mentioned a lot of good stuff that Colonel Allensworth was doing. I know you have a lot of tips to provide. Where can they start off?
So the first place I would say to start off is just becoming aware. Like just becoming aware of where you currently are. If you don't know where you are right now, you don't even know where you're heading to. So I will always say that's where you should start, is knowing where you are, knowing what it is that you want to achieve, what it is that you see for yourself out of life, and then starting to make those baby steps. You can't always run to the next goal. Sometimes you gotta crawl. Sometimes it's a slow process. But as long as you know where you are now, when you get to that next spot, that next goal, that next that next mark, and you look back, you'll see everything that you've accomplished, everything that you've achieved. So that's what I would say, is always know where you are. That's the first step, knowing where you are.
I like that. So that starts with self-evaluation, starting where you are, identifying your situation, your relationships, so whether that's home, work, your relationship with your children, if they're there, how can they assist you? It can be something as simple as, let's save money this month by making sure the refrigerator's closed, making sure that we turn off all of the lights before we leave the house, make sure that when we do leave the house that the temperature is set at a normal temperature so that when we get our electricity bill, it's not spiked. All right. Those are some minor goals. That's pretty much what you're saying?
Yeah, those are some of the minor goals. And that actually takes us into one of our hot topics. So that takes us into hot topic number 1, which is loud budgeting. And what loud budgeting is, and kind of how to be loud about how you're spending and how you're budgeting your money. A lot of times how we think that we're the only ones growing through something, especially when it comes to our finances.
Oh yeah, especially women. I think because we're women, we're constantly in our head. We're constantly overthinking things. Every scenario, every situation. How can we come up with a solution?
Yeah. That is our feminine energy. And we actually talked about this earlier, the feminine and the masculine energy. And sometimes when we come up with these really, really good ideas, that's our masculine energy. But then sometimes because we are women and we do have such high feminine energy, we're thinkers. And sometimes we overthink ourselves out of a really good idea. And so what loud budgeting is being loud about the fact that, hey, I am budgeting, and yeah, I can't do this. I can't go out with you every other weekend because I am budgeting. There's no shame in it, because a lot of times budgeting is taboo. And especially in our communities, it's like, oh, well, I'm on a budget. And it's like, a budget? Why are you budgeting?
Don't be ashamed about a budget.
I'm on a budget, and this no is a no, and there's a no and a period.
I'm confident in my no.
Right, I'm very confident in my no. Especially if I have a goal that I'm trying to achieve, because a lot of times, like, people, they want you to come out and they want you to spend the money, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll go out and I'll only spend $30 when I go out. And then when you get back home,
good luck. Good luck spending only $30.
You spent $30 on the wings. That wasn't you drinking water, like you sipping water because you can't get anything.
Put some lemon in there, please.
Give me a little sugar packet, make my own lemonade. Say when life gives you lemons.
No, but I like this. I really like this loud budgeting. I talk about this daily with my clients. Being a mortgage loan officer, when you talk about loud budgeting, it helps you with accountability, because you're speaking out loud. You're telling people who honestly care about you and care about your situation. They understand your vision, your mission, and they want to assist you. Not only that, hopefully this is working as a two-way street, because I know when I'm budgeting out loud, I want you to hold me accountable for anything that I do. So if you see me going to spend $30 on wings, please slap my hand, because if that's not for 3 people,
say we got chicken at the house.
That's right. When I was younger, my mom used to say we got McDonald's at the house. Hey, we have chicken at the house too. But all in all, I have no shame about that. So this is a new year, new you, new budget. Happy New Year, and focus on your goals and achieving them.
And something that you said about loud budgeting and being loud is that you're putting it out there and you're putting it out there to other people, but you're also putting it out there to the universe. When you're vocal and when you speak it out loud, you are now telling the universe that I want this is something that I want. And the more that you say it, the more that you repeat it, the repetitiveness of you saying, you know, I'm gonna be loud with my budgeting, or no, I'm not going to spend unnecessary money here.
Yes.
You are telling this to the universe. Now the universe, guess what? They now bestow, they respond and they bestow upon you those things that you're asking for, those things that you want, because you can now say that I'm working towards the dreams that I have for myself. Because even if you think it's small, even if it's like, well, I'm just not going to go get this Starbucks because, you know, it's going to save me. Starbucks like $10.
No, I was going to say, Starbucks $15?
Yeah.
That's not small to me.
Like,
it's $15.
Right? So it's like, I'm going to save this $10. But now by you doing that, your $10 is now starting to manifest and it's starting to multiply, because you have more money now to be able to put on a credit card or your auto loan or your mortgage. And so even $10, that right there adds up after a while.
Yeah.
Like if you do
$15 a day on Starbucks, so by the end of the week, what are you looking at?
Well, let's keep it at 10, because 15 I gotta add a 5. So
okay, so even if you do $10 a day at Starbucks, so if you only do 5 days, because you're only doing it the days that you go to work, that's $50.
Yeah.
Right? 50 times 4, that's $200.
Mm-hmm.
So 200 times 12 months, $2,600.
$2,600.
Oh my gosh.
Coffee.
What would you do? Yeah, that's just on coffee. What would you do with an extra $2,600?
Yeah. If you make an extra mortgage payment, like if you just do an extra $100 every single month on your mortgage payment, you could pay your mortgage off 2 to 5 years earlier, depending on what kind of mortgage you have and how it works out.
Comment below. Tell me what you guys would do with $2,600. That's a savings of $2,600. Let us know right now in the comments. Like, share, comment what you would do with $2,600.
Yeah, because that's a lot when you really think about it. Like just on coffee, you're spending this amount on coffee and coffee alone. How much more could you save? Think about it. You're paying for all these streaming services and you don't even watch them, or
we just
like
did that at the end of the year.
Yeah, we did. We had to get rid of our streaming services because we were like, this is too much. Like we were paying almost $100 for streaming services and we only watch 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, we're going to go ahead and cut this out and then take this money that we're now saving and put it onto our RV or onto the truck so that we can pay this off earlier, because we're tired of paying this bill. Like, we had a whole little disagreement. And, you know, like, wait a minute. And that's something.
To have BET Plus or to not have BET Plus?
That was not the question. Because guess what?
She was trying to cut off my Black Hamptons, guys. All right.
If y'all know about a fire stick, you know. You ain't missed the episode yet, have you? Thank you. Please believe me. Lord. But yeah, so this is something like loud budgeting is really something that I'm really going to start to promote, because I feel as though this is something that's important for us. And being vocal and being proud that you're budgeting and being proud that, you know, you're saving your money and that you're trying to do the things that you need to do to achieve the goals that you have for yourself. I'm all for loud budgeting.
Okay. Now let's say people start off this new year with their loud budgeting. What's the most common reason that you think people will try to give up? And what's your advice for people who say, no, I want to continue to budget throughout the year?
Life will just hit you. You'll start to see, okay, I'm saving my $10 a day and my bank account was starting to, you know, build, and I'm starting to see more money. And then you go outside and your tire is
just flat.
Just gone. And it's like, well, the fix-a-flat is not going to fix it. So now you have to get a new tire, or your battery dies, or it's always something with the car. So I feel like your car like, hey, she got a little extra money. You want something done? You want some new tires? Like your car knows. Like I feel like your car and your bank account might be linked. Like, hey, she got a little extra money in here. Would you all want some? And the car like, oh, thanks, sis. Transmission.
So that takes us into our second hot topic of the day. which are rates are dropping.
Now, when you say rates, what kind of rates do you mean?
I mean housing rates.
Okay.
So housing rates are dropping. There were a lot of people who were scared because they didn't want to go out and purchase any homes. So if you're looking to refinance at a lower rate because you got in or purchased your home at a higher rate, feel free to do that. You guys can contact me, Renee, your local mortgage loan expert. But yeah, so the rates are dropping. There's a lot of questions out there, and if you guys have any questions, book a consult with me, and we can definitely discuss your situation, your unique situation, and come up with a solution.
Okay. So if somebody is like, okay, I've saved $6,000, I'm ready to move, what does it look like for me to be able to do this? Like, because the rates are coming down, so that means that I want to jump in. Like, I want to come in and I want to get this. I've saved money. I have money off to the side. What does this look like for me to now say, let me go purchase my home?
That's a really good question. So there's a couple things that actually goes into, well, let me say there's quite a few things that go into try to determine where you are. So the first thing I always say is evaluate your situation. What's your current living situation? What money are you putting out? What are your expenses? How much do you have saved up? What is the geographical location that you're looking to move to or purchase a home in? So what's the median cost for houses, as well as the income ratio? That's the expenses that are going out. We talked about your geographical location and the median income, as well as the average home price. So once we have that, please always make sure that you're being mindful of your credit, you're staying up to date with your payments, and then just overall knowing where your score is, right? So again, I said all that to say it really just depends on your situation. Again, it's about evaluating where you are, and then we can kind of try and find you a solution from there.
Okay. All right. So it just sounds like you would have to kind of speak to the individual person to see where they are in the process of the home ownership or home buying process.
Exactly.
Okay. And so what does this really mean? Because I feel like for a while they were saying our interest rates, they were high, they were like 7, almost 8 around this time last year. So does that mean like we should all start to look for houses now? Like we should all start to be like, all right now, like, all right, like, should we jump in? Should we wait a little bit longer? Like, will they, because it's saying 6% by, is it the end of 2024? Like, when should we see this 6%? And when should we know when to take that jump?
All right. So again, rates right now, depending on when we're listening and talking about this video, rates right now are around from 6.5-ish to 6.8-ish. And again, that also depends on the loan type, the product that you're looking for, the housing market, so your area, your geographical location. But again, it's all about affordability. You can't really base all of your decisions off of rate or off of the amount of money that you saved, or even necessarily off of just your credit score, because all of those are considered when it comes to purchasing your home or even refinancing. So again, if you purchase a home and let's say you purchased your home and you're at a 10% rate, I would think that a 6.8 will be a pretty good. So I would personally refinance. Again, it also depends on how much equity you have in your home. It depends on, again, your situation and affordability. Do the numbers work for you? And that's why we would, again, sit down, we'd have a discussion, we'd evaluate where you are, your specific loan scenario, and we just go from there. My intentions are pretty much to help everyone. So it's not about the rate. It is, but it's more so about affordability.
So it sounds like loud budgeting and this 6% interest rate go hand in hand, because you have to be okay with the budget that you're setting for yourself, and you have to be vocal about it, especially if you're looking to purchase a home. So I feel like the loud budgeting is something that really is imperative when you're trying to purchase a house.
Absolutely. Affordability is what's imperative when it comes to purchasing your home. Are your streams of income, are they lucrative? Are they consistent? Have they been consistent over 2 years? Do you have savings? Is there equity in your home? Like, what are we pulling from? So all of that information goes hand in hand.
Okay. Oh, this all ties in with the conversations that we've had just today, looking at our goals, our visions, and starting that off, but then also how Dr. King had a dream, and then so did Colonel Allensworth. And while their dreams were different, it was because of the Colonel Allensworth that Martin Luther King was even able to have these visions, because Colonel Allensworth was out here in the streets. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, were their dreams different? I think they had the same vision.
They had those same visions, but they wanted things differently.
Freedom.
Yeah, right, freedom. And that's what they were fighting for. They were fighting for the freedom for us to be able to be homeowners.
That's right.
To be loud about our budget, to be able to be here how we are today,
and
to give
this
information, right, and live in peace and harmony, but also be able to provide and sustain for ourselves and our family. It's about our family being prepared and having a plan if something was to happen. So I feel like having that plan also coincides and goes along with, the mortgage and being prepared for your mortgage, and being loud about your budgeting, because if you don't have that plan and you're not prepared, then you don't know where you're going. You don't know, again, what you're trying to achieve, and you're just sometimes just out there and you're just winging it, and nobody wants to wing it their whole life. Like, that's no fun. There's no fun in winging it.
I'd even like to add on to that, without planning and without knowing your history, there's no possible way you can know where you're going.
Yeah, it's very important to know your history. It's important to know where you come from, where your people come from, so that we can continue to implement these plans, so that we can continue to have that generational wealth and have financial empowerment, because these are the things that are going to help with bridging and building that wealth gap that we have, which is so huge right now. Like, our wealth gap is really big, and how Renee was saying, like, within our community, like, we get money and it's gone within 6 hours. So we have to learn how to have a plan for our money so that we can have home ownership, so we can budget loud. We have to keep this money within our communities a lot longer. We're the only ones who don't keep our money in our society, in our community. So we have to start to do this.
Yeah, and so that we can also not make the same mistakes. That's another reason why history is important, so we can not make the same mistakes as our ancestors, but actually learn from those mistakes and kind of build on to that knowledge that we're passing down.
Yeah, we want to say thank you. This conversation, it was impactful. It was a lot. It was powerful. We hope that you were able to take something away from this conversation, even if it was just a little bit of motivation for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna start budgeting, because I want a house, and I can see that it takes a little bit of work. It takes time. It does take me having to do things outside of the normal and step outside of my comfort zone. But because this is something that I want, it's worth it. So we hope that you were able to take something away from our conversation, some inspiration, and just knowing that you're not alone on this journey for financial freedom. You have other people who are going through these steps with you. It may not look the same. The journey may be a little bit different, but we are all on the same path.
That's right. So again, we want to thank you for joining us. We're going to get out of here, but we'll meet you back here, same place, same time. Just make sure that you like, comment, and share, and bring a friend with you during your next visit.
And as always, you can always reach us at realurban.com, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Rheal Urban.
That's right.
All right.
So we're signing out. I'm Renee, your mortgage expert.
And I am Ashley, your money mindset coach.
And we are Rheal Urban.
You have a great day. See you soon. It wasn't recording. Renee.
Oh my God.